He's one of the world's wealthiest individuals and richest investors. Coming up, Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal of Saudi Arabia with us here. He'll talk to us about where he's putting his money to work right now, the impact on the European debt crisis, as well as tensions in Iran. We'll talk all of that coming up with Prince Alwaleed. Then the
saber rattling in Iran. Rising oil prices. The European debt crisis. We break down those hot-button issues with noted investor Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal in a first on CNBC interview. He is one of the world's most prominent businessmen, a member of Saudi Arabia's ruling family, and chairman of Kingdom Holding Company. And now, Maria Bartiromo.
All right, welcome back. Saudi Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal, Chairman and CEO of Kingdom Holdings, joining us right now in an exclusive. Good to have you on the program, Your Royal Highness.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us, particularly here at the New York Stock Exchange. Is this your first time at the exchange?
Yes, first time at Amir. Good, thanks for inviting me.
I'm so thrilled to have you. Prince Alwaleed, you wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today, and that's what I want to begin on, because, of course, you talked about the Arab Spring and the changes that we are seeing. What kind of an impact have you seen in Saudi Arabia from the young people getting together, getting empowered, and in fact taking governments down?
Yeah, no doubt that the revolutions that took place in certain Arab countries like Egypt, Libya, Tunis, and to a certain extent I would say Yemen, and what's happening now in Syria was a big lesson, a wake-up call to many of the Arab countries to really try to have a peaceful evolution rather than having a violent revolution. And I believe that many rulers in the Arab world began getting the message. For example, Morocco, the King of Morocco established a good system over there whereby he's moving slowly but surely towards being constitutional monarchy. Also, my friend, the King of Bahrain, also is doing big steps to move Bahrain into being full democracy and to begin fulfilling the aspiration of his people.
You called it in the piece an evolution, not a revolution. Tell me how you see Saudi Arabia looking different in this evolution. As you say, what, 5, 10 years later? How long does this evolution take, and how does Saudi Arabia look different? Yeah,
Saudi Arabia, under the leadership of King Abdullah, is taking major moves at the social level, economic level, and financial level, which is really helping the Saudi people a lot. But clearly, I believe more moves have to take place on the political front, where to involve the people and have them participate in the system. Having said that, if you review the latest Zogby report that had a research on the Arab countries, the approval rating of the Saudi government in Saudi Arabia was 90%, very surprising. So really, the government should utilize that favorable ambience and mood towards the government and the king especially, and try to establish more rules and systems to institutionalize the process even more.
Do you feel this on the ground from the people, the changes that we've seen in other areas of the Middle East? And do you feel that people today want change and they want to feel empowered in your region of the world?
No doubt. I mean, the Arab country, spreads from Morocco all the way to Bahrain and south to north from Yemen to Syria. Clearly, all the Arab countries and all the population would like to have a say in what's happening, and they see what's happening in their vicinity. So clearly, those Arab leaders and Arab countries that begin reflecting the demands and wishes of their people, they will really be able to make it eventually.
Let me ask you about the happenings, more news of the day, if you will, Your Highness, and that is about Iran. Of course, President Barack Obama tightening U.S. sanctions on Iran, freezing all Iranian government assets held or traded in the United States. Do you believe this is appropriate?
I think putting pressure on Iran, whether through the United States or the European Union or the Arab world and the world in general, is very important. I think Iran is a renegade country. It's very important to put pressure on them before we think of any military action. And I believe, and I will quote my friend President Carter, that said, you should really engage with them and talk to them and see if you can reach a solution. And I believe a solution is not impossible with them because they want recognition, and I think a dialogue is the best way to do it.
Do you worry if Iran has a nuclear weapon? Do you worry for the world?
Well, sure. I mean, we want all our region to be nuclear-free, not only Iran. I remind you also that even Israel has some nuclear weapons. So I think the whole region in the Middle East should really be nuclear-free, beginning from Israel and going to Iran and any other country in the region.
And you have said you believe the U.S. should be engaging with Iran. Tell me how the U.S. should engage.
I think opening a dialogue, a discussion with them, meeting with them one-to-one, or with part of other countries like you're doing with North Korea. North Korea, you have a team of 6 countries that are working together. Clearly didn't get us anywhere yet, but at least there's a dialogue. And I believe that Iran should be engaging with them, should talk to them, and just try to recognize some of their aspirations in having some nuclear energy. But for sure, no nuclear weapons.
We've been watching the price of oil, of course, and it's quite strong today, closing at about $97 a barrel on crude oil. Let me get your take on the supply of oil in the world today. Of course, I know Saudi Arabia is in a wonderful position in terms of oil. How much does it take to produce oil in your country? $3, $2? What is the price?
No, I think the average cost per barrel is somewhere between $5 to $6.
5 to 6. Okay,
yes.
So here we are at $97 a barrel. Do you believe that price would be appropriate given the supply in the world today?
Well, no doubt there's an element of fear. Because right now we've seen that the world economies are diminishing in growth, yet the price of oil did not go down. And demand, although it went down, yet the price is still high. I think there's a fear element here because what may happen with Iran and the possibility of closing the Hormuz Strait. But there's a sense that in the vicinity of the $100, both the consumers and the producers are satisfied with that price. And Saudi Arabia went public by saying we will not let the price of oil go more than $100, which means we can use our leverage, our excess capacity to be sure that to pump more if needed, to be sure to have it not to go above $100. So we will not impact and affect the consumer countries while they're getting out of the economy, of the recession slowly but surely, hopefully.
I want to ask you about the recessions and where we are in the global economy. But by the way, do you think Iran would close the Straits of Hormuz? What's your take on that?
I think if you give an ultimatum to Iran whereby it's capitulation or accepting the conditions, they may just they close it because that's a desperate move. We should not reach that stage. We should really engage with them and talk to them. And having said that, even if they close the Hormuz Strait, I think the United States has the power to open it very swiftly.
Let me ask you about the European debt crisis. This seems to be holding the markets hostage. It certainly is one of the major issues for investors today. What kind of impact are you expecting from the European debt crisis, the weakness in the economy there, the fragility on the Middle East region and the world?
No doubt what's happening in Europe right now is pulling down the growth of the world economies, whether it's the United States, Middle East, or even Far East, because the world now is very much dependent on each other. And Europe also is a big consumer of products that come from all over the world. So really, it's very important for the European Union and European entities that are, the countries that are in the currency of 17 countries, they have to be sure they get the house in order because this thing cannot go forever, obviously. You cannot have a small country like Greece impact the whole European Union and impact the whole world. And I hope that they are really beginning to grab and grasp the depth of this problem.
You know, Greece, it seems to me, doesn't necessarily want to swallow some of the austerity that is being handed to them. Do you think it would be better if Greece just left the euro? What do you think the impact would be?
I think the issue of Greece leaving or not leaving is became politicized. It became a matter of an ego for Greece and for the European Union because the question, if Greece leaves, what happens next to other countries? What happens to Portugal or Spain or maybe Italy if they begin facing some similar difficulties? I think they don't want to set a precedent by having Greece leave. Greece by itself leaving will not impact the European Union whatsoever at all. But they are worried to make a precedent whereby they may see the disintegration of the European currency in Europe.
In terms of the global slowdown, I know you're a big investor in the United States and all around the world. And in our next segment, we'll talk about some of your real estate holdings as well as even technology. But let me get your take on the Chinese economy, the engine of growth for the world for so long. Are you seeing a slowdown from China? What kind of an impact are you expecting on the global economy? And what are you seeing right now in terms of the global economy?
China is a very unique situation because everything is very much controlled by the government and centralized. So I think they're happy now with the 6, 7, 8% growth. They will just slow down a little bit, but I think the growth in China is still there. So obviously 6, 7% is the envy of the whole world, obviously. But for China, they need to grow at least 6, 7%. So they keep the momentum going because the GDP per capita in China is very low. And although the GDP of China will overtake the United States maybe sooner than later, but the GDP per capita, which is the qualitative part of the GDP, will take a long time for them to reach the United States. So they have to be very careful about that so we don't have social unrest also.
Don't tell me where yet, but have you been increasing your money invested in the United States in the last year?
Well, most of our deals are announced, like the latest deal in Twitter, for example. But we are always looking for opportunities in the United States. Although the United States is down, but not out, we still have trust in the United States. But having said that, the United States have to put the House in order. The Republicans, Democrats, President, and the Congress have to put the House in order and meet together. And this is a solution for the problems in the United States that are solvable.
I want to talk more about your investing in the U.S. We'll take a short break, and then we'll come back to our exclusive conversation with Prince Alwaleed Bin Talal, chairman of Kingdom Holding Company. From the macroeconomic environment to investing in today's climate, Prince Alwaleed will talk to us about everything from financials to hotels to social media. Find out where he's seeing the biggest opportunities as we continue on The Closing Bell. Back in a moment.